Hey everyone, welcome to the Writer's Room podcast, and thanks for joining us on the epic adventure we call writing. We're your hosts,
Holly Robilliard.
Austin Matthews.
and Bob Dotto. And today we're going to be talking about what's your writing routine? You know, it's funny because I just wrote, I didn't finish the sentence when I write my topics. I just says, what's your writing? And I was like, what? What does that mean? What's your writing? What's your writing routine? And it's just going to be us tonight. But first, let's get started about where we're at and catch up. Austin, what's going on with you? What are you doing?
So I just published, I think, chapter 110 of my Kindle Vela. So I'm shooting to get that knocked out by the end of October so I can focus on new projects in November. So yeah, that. And then I'm also trying to knock out our writing group thing that I've been sharing with the writing group by the end of October as well. So trying to finish 2 books in the next 2 months. So we'll see.
And just as a reminder, your Kindle Vela, what's the name of it?
So the Kindle Vela is called Brassbound, and it's like superhumans in a urban fantasy versus people in mechs, essentially. So getting weird with it.
That sounds fun.
I like that.
Mechs are always fun. And then Holly,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
I am currently working on The Blood Sky again, which I'm really excited about because that was like my original passion project and it got pushed to the side when I started working on Heartbound. So I'm kind of gearing up to publish Heartbound, and then still waiting to hear back from the agent that currently has it. So that's also really throwing a wrench in all of my life plans right now. And just working on The Blood Sky and trying to distract myself.
So if that agent does pick up Heartbound, that means you're going to quit your job immediately. And
I wish. I wish.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this before. I have a good friend who writes historical romance, who's a bestseller, award-winning author, and she barely makes minimum wage as far as best-selling goes. So just FYI for all of those new writers who think you're gonna just quit the day job and start writing. I mean, you could.
Yeah.
I'm not. You should push for that, okay? But I'm just saying, don't just quit.
Yeah. It's still a grind for the vast majority of authors that even do it full time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the hardest part for me is because I originally wanted to launch Heartbound on October 10th. So I wrote the book for my mom who passed away. And so that's her anniversary. And I was like, that would just be a perfect opportunity. You know, it just kind of everything worked out and it happened to be finished at just the right time. And so that's what I was expecting to do. But now I'm kind of stuck in this place where I'm like, if I don't hear back from the agent, I don't want to send out ARC copies to 30 people and then have this book out there in the world with people that I don't really know that well, and then have it get picked up potentially. Now granted, it's still going to change a lot once it if it gets picked up, but so now I'm like, I don't want to send it out, but then I also don't want to not send it out, and so I'm just living in this like very stressful world of like frantically checking my emails for like an answer one way or the other, and just like still trying to mentally prepare myself for like self-publishing it on the 10th still, and this is a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, that's that world. But like it's I don't know, it's very exciting too, right? I mean,
Yeah, and the way that I look at it is, I mean, having a full request is it's an amazing, it's a really cool experience, and if that's all I get out of this, and I'm so happy with that because that, I really love that. It makes me feel good.
yeah.
So that's all that I'm here for.
And we're rooting for you, Holly, because once you're in, then you can go, hey.
Then we're all in.
I know two guys. These two great guys. They have pretty awesome books, and here we go.
Amazing books.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
And I mean, just because you do get, something published as far as self-published doesn't mean you can't also go the traditional route. I mean, there's even been books where it's like the same book that was already self-published and then gets picked up. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually, it was on TikTok, there was a girl who just released a book, and she did kind of like a quiet launch on Kindle, and it took off on like KDP or whatever publishing on Amazon. And she ended up getting she had two separate agents reach out to her after they had seen her book on Kindle and were like an offered representation, which I thought
Wow.
was, so it does happen. So everyone who's out there saying that if you ever want to be published, then you can't self-publish, that is not true. There,
Not true at all.
there's
Mhm.
there's more than one way.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
they like money too. That's the thing. So I mean, no, everyone's looking for the next great book. So write
Yeah.
it. So get to it. Yeah. So I'm just actually I had a pretty decent launch with my book. I got 4 books up now in this series, Coil and Thing series,
Mhm.
and I just published that last month. And I was surprised that people were picking up all 4 books
Oh,
at a time. So that's
That's nice.
that's a
Yeah.
nice surprise. I mean, it's not tons of people, but it's still a lot of people.
But hey, you know what? Each person that does that, it's a nice little bump.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, oh, I'm gonna get some money to, not
Mhm.
today, but in the month. Like, wow, nice. I like it. So that's nice. And then I wish I was disciplined. We're gonna get into writing routines, but like, I am not disciplined with writing. Some people are doing whatever amount of words a day. I don't do that at all. Like, if I don't feel like writing, I'm not writing. And I've been that way, honestly, since I published my book. Like, I felt kind of burnt out from just constant edits, and like, okay, I'm done. So I'm kind of getting back into a couple of my other projects that I had on the back burner, the back burner. And then a couple of days ago, I just got into something. I'm calling it Dump Town right now. One word, Dump Town, and it was just the weirdest thing. I just went out to get some food for us, and this whole idea just popped into my head. So I came home and started writing. I got like a page, but just a dystopian future. I don't know. Told first person about how the end of the world came about, and it's like about 70 or 80 years past that. Earth, suffered a major cataclysm event, and now, so I don't know where I'm going to go with it, but I just started. That's fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, but that's it for me.
And
So
I have to say, I sent y'all that joke thing earlier about me doing a romantasy,
yeah,
and I am actually low-key super excited about doing it.
Yes.
why would it be a joke?
Because
Tell everybody
okay.
else. Tell everybody else.
So the plan was to write a book series called The Necromancer, but then like capital N, capital R, Romancer, putting the romance in Necromancer, and then have different like titles for each one of the books, like Undying Love or Lovely Bones, I think is one of the ones I suggested. But like, I realized I have the perfect character in my worlds already, that's referenced several times in the Arcanist cookbook that y'all have read, where it's like, oh, this person caused the cataclysm, but like constantly is just like, whining and dining across the world while like tricking the devil, like different prime evils, into giving him more power. And I'm like, that would be such a fun romantasy series. It's like each one follows one of his little antics to get more power while also like wooing somebody. So.
Right. Would these be cozy, or what is this?
Yeah, so like the idea like that I was thinking of is like his origin story is like super super dark, but then like skip past that and just like have cozy of like, oh, little adventure, a lot of like the action is mostly just talking kind of things, like tricking like devil deals or whatever, demon deals. And so like, yeah, it could be pretty cozy romantasy with like a dark humor to it because he's a necromancer. And then like after a series of like 4 or 5 of those, I can go, okay, we're gonna go hardcore grim dark with his backstory, and you're like, oh, but I'm so attached to him, like I'm so sad for him, and make it even more hit harder, already getting to know him afterwards.
Yeah.
So
if you throw any spice in your romantasy, you're gonna have to change the title to like the Knickermancer or something like that.
It'll just be it's gonna be the Necromancer, and then it'll just be the actual title of that book will be Boning.
Boning. Oh my
God. Right, there's so many good Necromancer jokes.
There
Yes,
are. There
there
really
are.
are.
That's freaking hilarious, dude.
So yeah, I think I might actually do it as
Bone
a
in.
Kindle Vela, probably.
That has to be the
I
first
love
book.
it.
That has to be the
Yes,
first book.
please.
Bone in.
What,
Like,
Bone In?
oh crap.
Oh, Bone In.
Yeah.
Oh, Bone In. Yes.
Dude, right?
I also thought about Meat on the Bone.
Oh.
See, there's just so many funny jokes.
Oh my god, dude.
And I just feel like it's gonna write itself. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You
I
should.
love
So.
that.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Sorry for
we're
that
done. We're
side
done
day.
for the night. Thank you. That's all we have. That's all we have time for is bone in.
And this is why I never get
Meat on the
anything written,
bone.
because I've got 18 million projects I want to write.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, I get it. You know how, like, as new writers, we're so afraid of like sharing our work in progress. Hey, what's your book about? And you're like, oh, it's something, or like you're so vague about it because you're afraid somebody's going to take your idea. But like you and me, I'm sure Holly is the same. Like I got like stacks of books I need to write. Like I don't care. You're Austin. I love the Necromancer. I would love to, but no, I already have like 50 other books I need to write. So like, have fun, God, that sounds like fun.
and
though,
plus,
dude.
even it's like if each of the three of us were to write the Necromancer, we'd all write very different.
Totally
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
different.
Oh my gosh, dude. Don't start with me. Remember, what was that other book where one of you mentioned, like, oh, we need to write this, and like each of us writes a chapter or something.
Yeah.
We do need to do that at some point. We should do like a weird crossover, and
Yeah.
we can have like a character from each of our things be
Right.
a main character.
Right.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you just have to read the previous chapter and then keep writing and finish the next chapter and just see what happens.
Oh my
I feel
gosh.
like we could only, if we were doing perspective characters, it's like you only get the cliff notes of like what you
Ooh.
were involved with. Like
I like
you don't even
that.
get to necessarily see it.
Mm.
I like that. Again, I got my 50 books, but I'll set aside time for this. I'll set aside time for this one. All right.
Yeah, it's I actually almost convinced myself. I was so close. I almost convinced myself the other day. I'm like, maybe I should just pull the release date on Heartbound and just make a second book. Like just make it like a 2-book series. I was like, stop it. Stop now. You're too far into the woods here.
Mm,
Just leave it at 1 and walk away because there's a lineup waiting.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, true. Well, Holly, let's start. What's your writing routine?
Well, it depends on the day. Most days I try and write when I get home from work. So I go to my regular day job, and then I come home and I sit down right as soon as I get home. So I like walk in the door, drop all my stuff on the table, and I walk right into my office and I sit down and start writing right away. And I'll usually write for a couple hours when I do that, until about 6:30, and then get distracted by other things that I have to do in the evening. And then on the weekends, I try to get up first thing in the morning and then sit down and write. And I'll usually write until lunchtime on the weekends. And occasionally, if I'm feeling very inspired, which tends to happen when I'm kind of like on a roll with my writing, because usually during the week I go to the gym in the mornings, and sometimes I'll be like, I need a recovery day. And then I'll get up and I'll just like be in my office at like 5:36 in the morning writing. And then I end up having to scramble to get to work on time because I get like so absorbed, and I look at my clock and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here for 3 hours. I need to leave. So it really just depends on the day. And I like to have music going sometimes. So it depends on like what kind of scenes I'm writing, or, if when I'm editing and stuff like that, I don't have anything going on because I just can't have the distraction. And I love snacks. So like if I can have like a little bowl of grapes or some cheese or like something going on while I'm here, like in the mornings, I'll have my my latte and just type away. And
You make your own lattes?
I do, yes. I
Ooh.
got myself this like ridiculously fancy espresso machine.
Oh my god.
Didn't stop me from going to Starbucks, of course, but here we are. I think I go a little bit less. So I love like just having like a nice latte in the morning and just sitting down and writing, and it's like my quiet time for me.
And then what kind of music?
It really depends. I love listening to classical when I'm writing. I can't listen to anything that has words because it will just distract me. So some sort of classical, whether it's like new hits that are just like the instrumental, or if it's like a piano or a cello, or sometimes if I'm writing something really wild, I go with like the intense classical playlist, or something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it really just kind of depends on what I'm hoping to accomplish that day.
And it sounded like you're a morning writer. You write better in the morning or in the afternoon or evening?
I think I think when it comes to creating new things, it's better in the morning because for whatever reason, when I get up, I'm just like, I sit down and I can just write and not really think about it. Whereas at the end of the day, I think because I know it's at like a limited amount of time, I'm like, I have to sit down and I have to focus and I have to get through these specific things. Um, and so that sometimes is challenging, and I know that's what held me up a lot with my last book, is because I was trying to really just focus in on those 2 hours, and I wasn't giving myself the opportunity to just write. I was really like, I have to make this part perfect. And that's what I would do in the evenings. And so now it's nice to have a little bit of both, because I know I can hammer out on the weekend a lot of things, whereas in the evenings I can still write, but it takes me a little longer. But it tends to be like those ones I don't have to edit as much later as I do the ones that I write in the morning. But the ones that I write in the morning, I often like a little bit more because they flow better, and they just seem, like the train of thought just keeps going. Whereas at the end of my day, it's like, a little more, not point form, but like, abrupt.
It's funny.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Mm,
Yeah, so I can say I've gone through different seasons. So like I actually had a season of my life where like I got to just sit and do full-time writing for like, I mean, it was like 3 months or something. So like I would wake up 8 o'clock, start writing at 9 o'clock, write until noon and try and knock out 3,000 words in that time period, have lunch, come back and then edit for 4 hours. And then like that was kind of my daily routine. I was like get through 3,000 words of editing and then or writing and then try and edit um, another, 20 or 30 pages and just edit the same things over and over and over again. So it was really nice, but you have to make a living at some point.
Hmm.
So at this point, it's usually I do a similar rhythm of like I'll write on one day and then the next day I edit, and just trying to go back and forth between those things because I think it engages different parts of my brain. And so just going back and forth is really nice for me. I don't like doing the whole I'm going to write an entire book and then go back and edit it. Um, I think I do really well, or like you said, early in the morning, doing like, okay, I'm going to go through, write something good, and then later in the day, go through and edit. So if I have time, that's still what I do is an hour of writing and then an hour or two of editing afterwards.
mm. And how about music or?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do is to go to the gym before writing if I can, and then I'll have like a playlist of like, okay, I know who the like point of view character is going to be. So like I have a theme band usually for each point of view character.
Hmm.
And so like one of the chapters for my Vela that's coming up, like the character is kind of a punk kind of person, and so like I have a little bit more metal music with them and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, this is a 3 Days Grace one, so I'm gonna listen to like Let's Start a Riot and all this stuff like right before they go into battle. So it really gets me amped, and I can think through while I'm running or lifting weights. Hey, this is what I need to have happen in the scene, and just plan it all out so that whenever I go through and actually sit down and write, I have a better idea than just like looking at a blank page. I'm like, okay, these are the points I need to hit in this chapter. I've got an hour to knock out this chapter and it needs to be done. So
Nice. And then coffee or snacks?
I do coffee, but I cannot do snacks.
Mm,
So I don't know
mm,
what it is. Yeah, I think part of it is like I give myself like a very condensed amount of time to actually write,
mm,
and I feel like I get distracted really easily. So
mm,
if I pull up anything else on the internet, or if I'm pulling like going to get snacks or anything like that, it's going to distract me. So
mm.
I try to avoid it, but like some of the things I write, like some of them are historical fiction, and so it's like, okay, well now I have to go look up like what was this noble family in this time period and all that stuff. So like unfortunately I have to make sure I get all those notes.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Austin, Where did
Austin,
Austin
you
go?
froze on us.
Please tell us you're still there. He lives in Texas, so maybe there's like a cutoff switch that they use.
Right.
No more internet for you.
None for you.
Okay, Austin. What did he do? Maybe he bumped something. But anyway, he'll be back.
Darn.
All right. Yeah. So I am not a morning person at all. I absolutely cannot write in the morning. I get up and I am barely coherent. I have a coffee and I swear I need like at least an hour just to like sit there and just stare at the screen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's coming back now. But and then yeah, I can't do snacks either while I'm writing. I don't know why. I just never thought of that. You mentioned snacks and I go, I don't do snacks when I'm right. I have a white keyboard and I have a little white wrist rest, and I don't want to get any food on any of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So no food while I'm writing, but lots of coffee. I like a hot drink, and it doesn't matter. So I'm actually in the late afternoon, like after 3 o'clock, I'll start writing, and everything just flows. What do they call it? The flow state or something like that.
Yeah.
Of the mind, where you're just like, just boom, everything is just moving so fast. So like, if I can write from like 3 to 6, holy moly, like I get a lot of writing done. Now I will write whenever I can. This is the thing. I'm retired. I don't really work now, although I do help out a lot. I volunteer a lot. So a lot of my time is taken up with that. So that's all over the place. So, but my writing routine is such that, I can write whenever I want, honestly. But yeah, late afternoon is absolutely my favorite time to write. I do listen to lots of music. I think I talked about this before, but I like playlists that help me get in the mood.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we're doing, I guess, the action now I remember writing in my second book, I think it was, I wrote a big action climax to Metallica because I just needed that energy. So yeah, you're right. I usually don't do lyrics either because it's just like, how can you, like all of a sudden somebody's talking. So, but I don't know why. I go, let me just try this. Let me just try some Metallica. And I got into it and I banged this thing out. It was fantastic. I just loved it because in fact, I get hyper focused sometimes on a song and I'll just keep, like I had that on loop. So it was almost like just the background noise while I'm writing, but I got it out. But yeah, mostly like Two Steps to Hell. I know I've listened to Mission Impossible soundtracks. I listened to the Joker sound. So lots of movie soundtracks. Joker, the Batman, the most recent Batman had some really good creepy music. And sometimes my stories have a creepy element where it makes you uncomfortable. So I don't know if we're going to get Austin back now. Poor Austin.
I know.
Yeah, Texas said, no, we're done for the internet for tonight. But I was going to ask you, when you sit down to write, let's just pretend it's your day off, right? You have nothing. You get to write. How long does it actually take for you to get going? Like you sit down and you're typing. Are you just jump in there immediately and everything's going, or what is it?
Yeah, so it depends on where I'm at. If I'm at like a new chapter, if I'm starting a new chapter, then I'll go back and reread usually just like the last paragraph of the previous chapter. So I know kind of like where I'm coming from. But if I'm like halfway through a paragraph and I'm sitting down to write, I'll go back through and like reread the entire chapter up to where I've stopped. Just because like, you want it to keep flowing. And so in that case, it takes me a couple minutes to go through and read everything, but I'm pretty quick on it. Like I know once I get there and like, I'll hit the end and be like, this is what's happened. Okay. This is where we're going. And then I can start typing right away. But just really nice. Like usually when like it doesn't take much for me to re-trigger my brain. But a lot of that does stem from the fact that I extensively plot these books. And so I know what's happening in every chapter. So if I'm, halfway through writing and I haven't hit what I need to yet, then I know, okay, that's where the other half of this is going.
Hmm.
So I think that helps me, be able to jump into it pretty quickly.
Well, welcome back, Austin. Uh-oh, your audio's up. Yeah. That's all right. Use sign language. Whatever you get. All right. He'll technical.
See if I got something else.
There it is. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Welcome.
Oh, you got it?
Got it. It's perfect. Nope. It's back out again.
Oh,
Yeah.
There it is. It's just so weird, dude. I'm so sorry. All right, go ahead. So I was asking Holly, like when you sit down to write, how long does it take for you to like get started?
Oh, goodness. I think that this is something I really had to practice. So it used to take me like an hour or so to get back into it. But at this point, it usually takes me like 2 or 3 minutes to be like, okay, what is this scene about? What do I need to do? And then I just start going. I might glance at the last chapter with that point of view, but generally it's pretty quick at this point. So
Wow. No. Wow. I think maybe I'm old, because I swear it takes me almost an hour. I'm not kidding. Like I'm like, okay, what did I read? Like I have to read the previous chapter. I mean, what did I read? What did I write? And then like, where am I going? And I'm just like sitting here staring at the wall, and it just takes me forever to like figure everything out and get into it. So like seriously, about half an hour of just staring at the screen or thinking, and then jumping into it. So I don't know. We all have different stuff.
Yeah.
I think something that helped me was that whenever I was a teacher, we had like a 8-minute passing period between classes. And so like the students would leave and I'd go really quickly sit at my desk and be like, okay, like what can I get done? Just trying to find those little moments to get any sort of writing done. And I think that helped me get used to like, how quickly can I get back into this?
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because just yesterday I had set a timer for 15 minutes to go do something in the kitchen. And I sat down to write, and I am not kidding. I think the second that I sat down, my timer went off, and I was like, that was not 15 minutes. There's no way I was writing for 15 minutes. That was 3 minutes. Like I was just so in the zone that it goes by so quickly. So I'm like, I'm trying to write anything in 8 minutes. Just like, it goes by so fast.
Yeah. Do you guys use writing sprints, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever, anything like that? And then take a break or...
I don't usually. I'm starting to get better now in that when I'm writing and I've been writing for like 3 hours, I'm like, you need to stop and get away from your computer. You gotta just like, because sometimes I'll sit down and be like, okay, just one more chapter, just one more chapter, just one more chapter. And then I'm like, my eyes are burning and I'm like, I need to stop. Like I gotta stop. And so I'm trying to get better about taking a step away for a little while. And not, so I mean, writing sprints probably would be good, but at the same time, like I really like it when I get in that zone and I can just keep writing. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, if it works,
should try it though. Yeah.
Oh, you also.
Yeah. I think for me, what I usually do is like I sit down and I write a chapter like all the way through, but I don't do like super detailed or anything. So like my class is here, and then I break, and then like go and do it again, and I add more details. And then I do it again and then again. And so like I kind of do sprints, but it's not like a normal, I'm going to sit down for 15 minutes, get what I can, and then move on.
Okay. Yeah, I have tried sprints. I do like them. I will, I'll do usually like 30 minutes, but then I find I go past that. But it helps me just to get up and like go and kind of go reset for a little bit and then sit back down for like another 45. I like that. So I do use writing sprints. I don't know, anything else that you find helpful?
I have to turn off, if I'm using my my computer, so when I'm working, I have dual monitors and I have to make sure that everything, like I use Word, so I make sure that Word is completely blown up on my entire screen. and I make sure it's not sharing tabs with anything else, because if I see anything else on any of my screens, I will get distracted. Like I will be like, oh, look, Chrome is open. I wonder what I
Yeah.
could go Google right now.
Right.
And then I'll be like an hour later, I'm down a rabbit hole, like searching for like random things.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that like there's nothing but what I'm working on my screens. Otherwise, like I'm toast.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my normal operation is having 40 tabs open and I've got 4 monitors.
Yeah.
And so, but like part of that is like, okay, I can have my notes on one page and then have my actual writing on this screen. And so I'm not flipping back and forth a lot. It's just everything I need is right there. So I'm not searching for it.
How about thesaurus? I definitely use it all the time. I think Stephen King in his book on writing, I should say, never use a thesaurus, but like I use it like pretty much every other paragraph. I'm in there looking for the right word.
I love my thesaurus, and I also love using a lot of those like emotional handbooks and stuff like that. I really, really
Yes.
like those, just because, and I don't usually use them the first time that I go through on my first draft. I usually skip it. But when I start going through my second draft, and I sort of take stock, like there can only be so many shoulder shrugs and eye rolls in a book, before people start to notice. And so it's usually when I go through the second time or the third time, then I'll start to think, like really sit down and think like, okay, how are they actually feeling in this moment? And then if I can't find the right word, I'm like, I always have my thesaurus right here. To like, just find, like, I found a few times where I'm like, I know I should have come up with this word right away. And it just, for whatever reason, is just like completely like eluding me. And then as soon as I open the thesaurus, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the exact word that I needed.
It's funny.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't worry about it until editing. Like that doesn't feel like a, first couple of drafts even. Like I feel like that's okay, we're polishing it off. I need to make sure I don't have very generic language in here to be nitty gritty. But like also it's fine to use the word said a lot. Like it's fine. It's a tag. We use tags, noticeable in audiobooks though. But like as a reader of like a physical book, I don't really notice whenever like I kind of skip over mentally the language tags.
Okay.
So, or dialogue tags.
I think this is the one you were talking about, Holly.
Yes.
Emotional thesaurus.
And
there's a bunch of other. These are from Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi, maybe. And they have a bunch of other books. But anyway, yeah, highly recommended. Super, super helpful.
Yep. There's a couple other ones I've also looked into, because my book was romantasy, and so it's called like the Romance Writers like Book of Words or something like that. That was a really, really good one. And then I saw another one, and it was I think Naughty Words for a Nice Writer or something like that. But it was really fun to just like, go through a few and like see like how many different ways there are to say one thing. It's really fascinating. It was really an eye opener, and it was a good way to find some inspiration, I think, when because a lot of the time I think when we're first going through and doing that first draft, where you just think of like whatever just comes to mind. And that seems to be like, if that comes to mind the first time, it's usually going to be what comes to mind every single time when your character is in a similar situation. And so it was like really fun to see like other ways to say what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of scoffing in my book.
Yeah, and for the new writers, grab everything you can. Thesaurus, like what we were talking about, the emotional thesaurus, other helpful books. Please don't think like, I mean, we're all artists, but every artist is going to use some of their resources or something to look at. I wanted to be an illustrator, and I know that people that I followed, they would have pictures of other artists all over their art desk just to help kind of give them inspiration. So please don't. And we're not. I mean, we could do our don'ts now if you want, but that would be mine. I'm just going to raise my hand right now. Right now is my done. If we are gonna do don'ts, but yeah, so don't box yourself in. Like, just get everything you can to help you because you're learning, and then after a while, you'll probably write your own, how-to book or whatever. But yeah, just get
Yeah.
everything you can.
I think there's a lot of balancing that goes in with like your use of language and like particular levels, and you have to keep that in mind. Like, what is your audience? Like, if you're writing, something more literary focused versus, something YA versus romantasy, like I may not want to have to pull out a dictionary while I'm in a spicy moment in a romantasy novel, and you use like a 20-point
Yeah.
Scrabble word on me, and I'm like, oh, what does that word mean? It sounds important and maybe sexy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you say that. I saw a social media post that someone had done about like ways, like words to make your writing better or something like that. And I was looking at it and I'm like, I don't even know what half of these words are. Like, what is, if I was reading a book and I saw this, I would immediately be yanked out of my story by my hair because I'd be like, I don't know what this means. Like, I have no idea what this
Yeah.
character's what is happening to them. I don't know. I don't know what this word is.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And like I remember one of my favorite web comics is from XKCD, and he's explaining how the NASA space shuttle works using only the 100 most common words in the English language. And like he can clearly explain how all that works. And like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to know the exact words or how it all works, but like using those common words, you can get there and describe it.
Yeah.
And like that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely use your language. Don't reach for the big old giant words that you're, unless you like. I think we talked about
Unless
Anne
you like that.
McCaffrey. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about Anne McCaffrey and her books, Dragon Riders of Pern, last
I
episode.
think it was last.
But yeah, I mean, there's tons of flower language, but you could tell like that's just the way she talks. Like, if you talk to her in person, and so it flowed so much better. But if I try to use soliloquy in any of my work, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go look at what does that mean, and then I have to find the thesaurus. Like, okay, well, let me dumb this down, man, because like I can't. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to use it. Yeah.
Now that being said, like I think there's a time and place as far as character voice too. So like I may not normally talk like that, but I might have a character that's a little bit more,
Sure.
uppity or posh than I am. And so it's like, okay, like let me break out some of those
That's true.
less used words. Let me dust off that shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else for writing routine. That's snacks. Got the most. Oh, candles. Do we like candles? Yes or no? I like candles. I like them.
I love candles, but it
Yes,
depends. I mean, it's been blazing hot this year. I don't know what is going on. I'm like, it's September. Let's calm down.
Let's calm down.
Let's cool down a little bit here. I'm ready for like the windows open, like cozy sweaters.
Right.
Here in Northern California, it's still surprisingly, it was like 90 degrees today. I'm like, I don't know, like this is too much for me.
Yeah.
So no candles, sadly, but there was a couple really nice days recently that were like 75, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
I've got a candle here, if you know.
Oh, what kind of scent? Let's go there.
This is called In the Stars. And it's
Ooh.
It doesn't say.
Smell like what? Dancing
here
stars?
We go. Starflower.
Oh, of course.
Sandalwood musk, radiant amber, and essential oil.
Okay, so like a
How
natural.
would I like the word
woodsy.
musk thrown in there?
Yeah, well, we're talking about romantasy, so musk is definitely a part of the words.
So that was actually so that's actually something that I thought about doing in one of my book boxes, was having candles like based off my characters, rebranded with my.
That is smart.
Yeah, because people love that, right? Like there's actually a company that does do that with some of the books that I've seen, and they have like based off the characters or whatever in the book, they have specific candles for that book, which I thought was really cool.
That is smart. Wow. I need to write that down. I like woodsy kind of especially now, like fall leaves, fall woods, kind of a cinnamony hint to there. I like that. I like that. Those kind of scents.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've got like no olfactory sense, so I just like candles because of the ambiance. So I don't necessarily enjoy the scent. but it is nice to put the lights down low. And like that's something about writing routine is, do you always write at a desk, or where's your go-to writing? Because
My
I don't
writing
always write
is
at a
right here. This is where I write. My 2 monitors and all my stuff is here. All my Funkos. This is it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like to sit at my desk and write. I have recently, when I was going through and doing some editing, I can sit in bed and edit for a little bit, but I think like here now I'm so used to being here when I'm writing, and so when I sit down, I'm able to like focus. Whereas if I'm like in other places, I'm like squirrel.
Like a coffee shop. I find I do really well in coffee shops actually. I don't know what it is. Everyone else is working, and then just in my head, like, yep, I want to work too. This is what I'm here for, and I just get to it. How about you, Austin? Where do you work? Where do you write?
So I usually write at my desk if I'm doing actual writing. If I'm doing editing or like plotting or any of that stuff, a lot of times I'll honestly just be on my phone on like Google Docs, just being like, okay, like let me get out a couple of things, or flip through and like read through, because like, and before I go through and do like heavy edits, I like read through the whole thing. So I'll just scroll through like when I have time. So yeah, a little bit of everywhere.
I'm pretty sure that people at my gym hate me because I will have my playlist going when I'm working out, and then I'll like think of something that I want my character to say or to do, or like think of like another book idea, and then I'm like in the middle of sets and I'm like like on my phone, like writing all this stuff down, hogging the machines. I have to write it down
I
now,
will
or I'm
say,
gonna forget it.
leg machines and your phone for writing is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And like one of these days I'm just gonna get crushed because I'm just not paying attention. Like it's fine.
Or on the treadmill. I used to do that. Yeah.
There are people.
Nice.
I'm doing a Stairmaster challenge right now.
Ooh.
As so this one of the books, one of the romantasy books that are popular. This girl has to climb up like 10,000 steps or something. So that's the challenge. And I see people all the time. I've never been on a Stairmaster ever. I just go on a treadmill. And so I'm like, I see people up there reading their books while they're like working. And I'm like, okay, this does not seem like it's that bad. And I get up there and I'm like, I can't read a book.
Yeah,
I need to
with 10,000
stare at
steps.
my feet and watch where my feet are going on the step. Otherwise, I will be will be on the floor.
Right.
I don't know how people can read and like
Not on the Stairmaster.
do that.
No,
like there's
thanks.
Stairmaster, even the treadmill. I'm like, how can you even like the words are going like this? How is this possible?
Well, so like I've thought about getting like the under desk treadmill, and just like that way you can walk like 3 miles an hour while you're typing or whatever. Like that doesn't sound so bad. But yeah, once you're running, then it's like, okay, well, we're not doing anything. So.
Yeah. Get your heart rate up for those spicy or exciting scenes. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. We need to have like
her legs were burning as she was running away from her attacker. I'm like, yeah, they were burning. They were burning a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I thought this was during sex, but that's right. Her legs were burning. I don't know. Maybe
we're very one-track mind today.
Yeah. Well, Austin, you're the one who started it, dude.
I can't help it. I actually typed out another title that I was like, "Ooh, Pound of Flesh sounds really good."
Oh my gosh. You have got to write this, Austin. I swear. This is your ticket.
Please.
This is your ticket, dude. Oh, Pound of Flesh. No kidding. All right.
Oh, too funny.
All right. So I already did my don'ts. Do you guys have any don'ts for writing routines?
Yes. Okay. And this is something that I think I actually said way back at the beginning in one of our first episodes. Don't be afraid to try writing at a few different times, especially if you're kind of new to writing or you're in a new place or, on a new schedule. Don't feel like what works for someone else is going to work for you, because obviously, as you've heard, that's not necessarily the case. And there's some things that might work for me that wouldn't work for you, and vice versa. So even if it takes you a couple times to find like the right time for you, then don't be afraid to just like keep trying until you find what works.
Yeah, and actually there's some really interesting like YouTube series out there where people try like different famous authors' writing routines to see like, oh, hey, how does this work for me? Like what parts do I like? What parts do I not like? Like I think Brandon Sanderson like said he like writes on his couch, like just laying down on his couch. And I'm like, that sounds comfortable, but man, that sounds, I would fall asleep real quick. Yeah, so just try it. What can it hurt?
Yeah.
I will say
Nice.
I took my laptop camping with me not too long ago. And that was a really cool experience because usually I don't sit outside with my laptop and write, but I was like, what else am I going to do? Everyone else is sleeping. It's 6:30 in the morning. So I had my laptop and was just kind of looking out over the water and I was writing and it was like, it was such a cool experience. And I'm so glad that I did it because I was able to like write a really cool scene and I just happened to be writing about,
Mm,
someone was in the woods or something. And so I
Mm.
felt like I could really immerse myself. And that's
Mm.
not something I would usually do. Like,
Yeah.
it's too easy to think like, oh, I know what a forest sounds like. But then when you're actually out there and you're
Mhm.
like actually listening to it, it's totally different. It's
Wow.
so cool.
That's really
Hmm.
neat.
mm.
Sounds very magical.
Hmm.
What do you got, Austin?
All right.
Anything?
So I think my don't is going to be don't confuse the routine that gets you the most words with the routine that gets you the best words.
Hmm.
Because that's what we're here for. And like maybe sometimes you need the most words, but like also think about like when am I going to write the best content? Because those are two very different things for me. And so like I'm going to write more, honestly, probably at the end of the day because I don't have the mental capacity to think through things or like just second guess myself. So I'm just like, bloop, 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 bloop. But then I look at them the next morning. I'm like, what did I do? Like that sentence doesn't even make sense. Yeah, it's words on a page, but I'm going to have to delete them. So yeah, just check those kinds of things too. Check for quality, check for, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining us on What's Your Writing Routine? And we would like to hear from you. What's your writing routine? Please get in touch with us down in the comments below. I was going to ask, where can we find you, Austin? Where can we find you? But
hey,
all
you
of our
can find me
links,
on Kindle Vella.
yeah, all of our links are down below in the comment section. So don't forget to subscribe to our channels at the links below, like I just said, so you don't miss any of the Writer's Realm content. We always love to hear from our listeners. That's you. So if you have a question or a topic you want us to dive into, please get in touch. Or any challenges like Austin mentioned, like that would be kind of fun if all of us tried this Brandon Sanderson writing challenge, or how he writes, or other other writers. So that'd be interesting. Maybe in the future episode we could do that. Until then, have a good night, or day, I should say. Bye.
Whenever you're listening. Bye,
Whenever you're
everyone.
listening, have a good one. Bye.